So, what do you do when your spouse or partner has a different parenting style than you do? Maybe you agree on the big picture stuff, but when it comes down to those day to day happenings in your house, you notice that you're using conflicting methods. So, here are some guidelines that I recommend for strengthening your parenting game and your relationship. One, don't let things go. Talk about them. Frequent check ins, especially about seemingly small things, can really establish strong communication between the two of you so that whenever things do get hard or something major comes up, you're already in a healthy pattern of tackling them head on. Two, assume good intentions. There are so many factors that influence the way we parent. There's culture, the way we were raised, the good relationships that we've had in our life, the adverse experiences and trauma we've been through, our temperament, the stress of our job, and our beliefs. No matter what, every parent is trying to do their best. So if your spouse or partner is doing something that really upsets you, I can promise that there's a reason behind it. And our job should be to get curious about that reason and assume that they mean well rather than shaming or judging them. Three, express curiosity. Let's say your partner keeps giving in when your toddler asks for a treat after dinner, even though you've established really strict rules around this. It's easy to see how you'd be frustrated, and you can be. Just remember that there's something deeper behind that choice that they're making. Meaning, they're probably not just doing it because they don't care or they want to upset you. Let's say maybe they've been working long hours and they feel guilty about only seeing your son or your daughter very little, so they're eager to bond and show them some love. And maybe they grew up in a household where food was the way that you loved on someone. Of course, breaking rules and feeding your toddler sweets isn't the best answer to establishing a strong bond, but by getting curious and asking your partner about those motivations behind the actions, you're going to have a much more fruitful conversation with them. And from there, you can work towards finding a solution. Number 4, measure your actions against your goals. In that last example, if your partner's goal is emotional connection and strong relationship, let's brainstorm some actions that meet that goal. Taking over the bedtime routine and reading and singing to their child is a great solution. Being the one to lovingly hold a boundary at the end of the day when their toddler is melting down is another. Engage with your partner about finding a solution that best meets your goal and works for the whole family, rather than just focusing on what they're doing wrong. 5, let's say you are really convicted about your parenting decisions and it feels important that your partner gets on board. Don't have that conversation in front of your children or in the middle of a situation where you find yourself disagreeing. In that moment, you can just kindly ask your partner, hey, this is really important to me and I'd love to talk to you about this. When would be a good time for you? And see how I didn't ask, can we talk? Instead, I just said, we're going to talk. When should that happen? Have confidence in expressing your needs. That's really important. So then when you have that talk at a time where you're both able to be present and active listeners, I highly recommend following Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication approach. I'll put the link in the comments section below so that you can access the details of this approach later. But in general, the idea is to make observations, identify your needs, make requests of one another that are direct and clear, and speak using I statements. Like, you could say, Today, when our daughter was practicing using a spoon at lunch and you interrupted what we were doing and directed her to be more careful and hold the spoon properly, that was really hard for me. When you interrupt a moment that the two of us are having with your agenda, it appears to frustrate and confuse our daughter. And it also makes me feel kind of undermined and ignored. I have a need for my decisions to be trusted and respected in the moment because what I'm doing is deliberate. And then you can finish with a request, which would be something like, I need you to hear how that makes me feel. Or I need you to let me be in charge of the moments that I create with our daughter and have you talk to me about your feelings later. So here again, remember your goals and speak about them really clearly so that your partner knows where you're coming from. Okay, 6, be proactive. As your children grow, one of you starts a new job, school gets out for the summer, or some other shift is imminent in your family, differences in your parenting decisions will inevitably come up. So anticipate those changes and potential conflict that might be created between the two of you, and strategize before it happens. Be proactive. And then lastly, remember that there will always be differences. It's impossible for two parents to be exactly the same. So have compassion for one another and then focus on yourself. If you happen to be the parent who leans more towards this trusting and respectful style, take pride in your work. Know that you're having a really positive impact, even if your partner does things differently. Your child will really appreciate the way that you include them in caregiving activities, talk to them like a whole person, give them the opportunity to build skills, hold boundaries, and welcome their feelings. So I wish you the best in navigating these differences.